1, 2. The Elektron Analog 4 MK2 is what we're checking out, but more importantly, we're checking out the latest update, 1.40. Now, there's a lot of things, maybe bug fixes and improvements that are being done with this update, but the more important things is graphics improvement, external midi out, randomization, perf knob, that's more like a super macro knob, individual track length, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are like kind of huge improvements for this box. And so what I want to do is kind of take the time to demo some of those things. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I kind of feel like MIDI out deserves its own video. So this is going to be a video series. Okay. And I always thought it was kind of strange that you would make such a powerful box and not give it external MIDI out. I thought it was maybe they didn't want to cannibalize the sales from that other line of stuff because these boxes are really made to kind of complement one another. But I think it was a good idea to give them MIDI out now. So this could be the center of your universe, the kind of controller extraordinaire for everything else. Now with this, you could use this to control all the external desktop synths and stuff like that. You can also use it with the obviously included CV to control your modular stuff. And it's just a powerful box. And that's why I want to do some tips and tricks and give you some stuff individually that you can kind of focus on with this amazing box. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to turn up this beat, this little weird, little quirky beat I made here. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably heard it. The first thing that you have for the Analog 4 update is the graphics. You have some graphics improvement, so you can see the kind of curves of the envelopes and stuff, and you have you can see the curves of the filters, and the graphics are improved to look more like the Digiline, Digitag, Digitone, right? So if you're used to those screens, you'll probably feel a little at home with how these graphics improvements have been done on this guy. All right, and mind you, if you have the MK1 versus the MK2, I believe it's an improvement on screen even there. Randomize, and that's what I want to kind of get into. Let's talk about randomize more so than anything. We're gonna do other videos for some of the other stuff, but randomize and track length, let's play with that stuff a little bit. So the randomize is you just hit param, and yes, that things change, and you kind of get random stuff out of it. So let's check that out. All right, so we got this crazy track. Let's randomize it. First, let's see what's on all these tracks. All right, let's randomize that. And the way you randomize is you go to, say, LFO. You hold down LFO and hit yes, and it randomizes the LFO's parameters until you say stop. You don't do it anymore. So here, LFO, yes. Yeah, not yielding a lot of results. Let's go to envelope. Yes. Amp. All right. Filter. So we've just changed that sound with the press of a couple of buttons, and that's randomization. So imagine the power that you have with that. I'm gonna bring in a couple of other tracks. Word. So let's try to randomize. What else I got over here? Let's see. Let's open up a couple of these other tracks. go to track 4, and let me show you what's on track 4. This is track 4. Sounds like some sort of electronic balloon. You know how people take balloons and kind of just stretch them and pull them and make weird sounds? That's a sound design technique and also a clown's party trick. Anyway, that's kind of what this sounds like to me. So let's randomize that and see what we got. Now, what I would recommend if you're doing randomization and trying this out, save your project so you could always reload it if you've gone too far, right? So, or you could do undo, but what I'm gonna do here is when we get to a point where we've gone too far, I'm gonna reload that joint. Let's randomize the, I don't know, the amp. Let's see what that does. The envelope. Envelope, yes. Let's do a filter. Totally changes. Yo, this randomization feature is actually kind of dope. Let's bring the other stuff on and see what kind of mess we've made. Function and hit the track so you can open up the mutes. Okay, so there you go. So that's some randomization, right? So very easy stuff, the randomization, just by holding down a parameter. You could do it with all kinds of parameters. Hold down a parameter and hit random. See what the hell happens. Might be something dope, might not be something dope. You know, maybe you have done the LFO and it doesn't make that much of a difference. So you go and randomize the envelope or randomize the amp, randomize the oscillators and really get crazy, right? So you can really kind of create some interesting stuff, but I'd like to do it, you can do it as a sound design thing, but I also like to have patterns already playing and kind of see what happens when you randomize the sort of shaping of the sound. So that's what we have right now. All right, now let's talk about the individual track length. Now I already have this on individual track length. So if we go to the track length and then I can show you function, scale. So track 1 is, as you can see, I don't know if you could see that, but track 1 is set to 64 steps for track 1. Track 2 is set to 32 steps for track 2. Track 3 is also 64 steps, but that's a baseline that I haven't played. And then the alien balloon electronic sound on track 4 is set to 16 steps. So we can actually start to, I bet you can randomize that, but what I want to do is let's go to, I don't know, let's go to track 2, which let me let you hear what track 2 is. Kind of the main little weird drippy ARP. I am on track 2 on 32 by 32. And you can see the lights. I'm on 12 steps of 16. So having that individual track length, you can kind of dig in and kind of create some other stuff. I will bring in the other tracks and I'm just going to play with track lengths for all of them. Why not? Let's see what happens. 19 by 32. Well, I don't care. Let's go. Let's change something else. Let's go up here. Change this guy. Yeah, so just a little example of how using randomization in conjunction with individual track lengths can give you some pretty cool stuff.